Myrtle Beach is the beach. 60 miles of bright sand, water, and a wealth of wonderful music playing day and night. You can step into a simple beach bar and discover a surprising level of exciting musical talent. A place to kick back and groove to the enticing soundtrack of the most unexpected vacations around. With nothing but good vibes floating through the warm ocean air. Plan your own music-filled trip to America's Jukebox at visitmyrtlebeach.com.
Have you ever brought your magic to Walt Disney World like, hey, we came to play? Did you tip your tiara to a Creole princess or get goofy officially? When we come through, it's true magic, because we came to play at Walt Disney World Resort.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Newmark, a.k.a.
Uncle New.
From Jurassic 5, and you're checking out the library with my main man, Tim Einenkel, on www.rapstation.com.
Take me.
Chicago MC Verbal Kent is back with his 8th solo album, which features artists such as Freddie Gibbs, Skyzoo, Torae, Red Pill, and production by J.O.D, Apollo Brown, Marco Polo, Kaz1, Oh No, and Varan. His new album, Anesthesia, under the Mellow Music Group, is due out September 11th. Verbal Kent, welcome to the library with Tim Einenkel on rapstation.com.
Thanks, Tim.
So, of course, according to the press release, the new album, Anesthesia, grapples with the way in which we self-medicate in order to deal with daily lives put before us. With kind of the cast of people that are on the album that I read, how do you ensure that a mission like this for your album comes to light?
Well, the album, like you said, it's kind of about self-medication and not in the traditional sense of necessarily of drug abuse, alcohol abuse. It's about what we do as people, how we jump from one vice to another or one addiction to another. And sometimes people have, they use drugs to do that or food or sometimes people use people to do that. And sometimes people use, emotional crutches. And so I wanted to really touch on that without getting too literal about it. So that's what Anesthesia represents to me.
One of the tracks on the album, September, You Spit, I always knew I had a knack for this rap stuff. What was it about hip-hop when you first came out that first spoke to you?
Back when I started listening to rap, I think what always jumped out at me was the storytelling and what you could accomplish in the songwriting and in the amount of words that you used in a rap song versus like a rock and roll song or other type of music. I was always impressed with how much you could get across, and it seemed to be a limitless option of how to express oneself. I think that's what really moved me the most about it, and the attitude in general and sort of just the freedom of who you could be was what grabbed me when I was younger.
Talking about the album and how we grapple with self-medication, do you think rap music and the art, is that your alternative for self-medication? I guess why do you do this art and continue to do so, and how has it changed since you started writing?
You're totally right. Yeah, you're totally right on. I mean, it's a huge. It's funny to me when I find myself writing the most and when I don't. Right. When things are going really well for me, like when life is at its easiest, mm-hmm. I find the pen is less valuable a tool for me. And right. when there's struggle, when there's transition, even if I don't know that I'm going through a transition, right? Even if I'm not, because we're not always aware of there's so many levels to our conscious, right? And so sometimes I find myself really getting into writing just kind of aggressively, in kind of just this, I jump into it all of a sudden. I'm like, why? There must be a reason, mm-hmm. and that helps me actually explore under the surface of why am I? Why do I need to do this right now? It's not like I stub my toe when I start writing a verse. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, definitely.
It's this really analytical, process. And again, like you said, that's. I'm so lucky to have a tool like that, to be able to analyze myself with,
Mm-hmm. I want to actually skip over the track notes. I feel like mm-hmm. this is this is a really, I think, a really personal song because you talk about your thoughts when hearing that your wife was pregnant, and you're very open about what this meant for your future. You kind of question like, do I still rap or do I try to make that one hit, you know, to make those millions right off the bat? Is this when you do it when you're like you said, when you're writing and when you're writing on something that's happening in your life, are you sharing your thoughts with the other person at the same time, or do you write first because you need to make sense of it before you could actually express to them what you're feeling?
I think it's like I think it's extremely personal first. I think it's really all about me and what I'm going through, and I'm hoping that other people can relate to it. I think there's a big difference. I think and just to make sure we're on the same page with what, in that, for example, that line you talk about, you know, should I continue to rap or should I? And I think the line is, you know, quit making raps and make hits like Ty Cobb.
Yeah.
It wasn't even to be, and I know why you thought it meant that specifically because I said that specifically. But and this is a good example of what we're talking about. I wasn't even implying that was sort of meant to be, you know, in life, like meaning is there a point of me even continuing? Do I have time to keep expressing myself and being a rapper and a writer, or should I just do something that'll make my family stable in general?
Yeah.
And so, which kind of encompasses what we're talking about. I think like for example with notes, I think I needed to. It was important for me to be able to write down the conflict that I was going through, that was happening to me that day after, because I think. And I think in turn, by expressing that conflict and by really talking about it and it's kind of, you know, it's not really a traditional rap song. I mean, I don't know if, I can't remember. I know people obviously talk about their children and their songs and stuff like that. I'm not, you know, but if you followed me and who I am in my career, it's not really what I do. I don't get that personal. I mean, I definitely have like secrets. There's deep things that are within my rhymes that are about myself that no one knows, of course. But in this case, I needed to talk about it, and by putting it down and talking about it, I think my hope was that if I write a song like that other people who have gone through that first day or that first week or that first year, at some point even, of being a parent, father or a mother, everyone has that. It's not, even if you plan, and like we planned it, it wasn't like a surprise.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that should even explain it even more. I mean, so I knew it was coming when it, you know, I knew that we were trying for it. So I think. But
there's like a difference between. Sorry, there's a difference between like planning and then there's also there's planning and that sounds great, and then the reality happens and you're like, oh shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, this is real now, because you can. There's nothing bigger. It's you know, so far I'll say, at least in my life, there's nothing bigger than what it means to be, you know, to be a father, to be a parent. There is no greater. I have not found a more powerful thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, you know, unless you're like a sociopath and you can make your own something that you know that happens to you worth more than actually creating life. I don't know how. And you do, you know, it's funny. You do see people and you do see parents that are like, yeah, this is awful. People have a hard time. People have a hard time with it, for sure. And so, you know, and no one's perfect, and you can go through waves. And I think you can take people a long time to realize how lucky and how insane it is to be a parent. But for me, it's been this instant, life-changing, just overpowering experience that has redefined and made me look at everything so differently. So, you know, it was important for me to write something about it. And I don't think it'll be the last time I write something about it either. But I also didn't want to do a traditional, you know. I'm not the kind of, I don't do traditional stuff. I don't want to write a dedication to him, or you know, I don't want to whine about anything either. I just wanted to kind of try to express what was going on and what I think would be everyone's mind upon learning about this. That's all.
Is this a track that you hope when your son's old enough that he'll be able to hear?
You know, I don't know. I don't know how much he'll even. Maybe if he's a parent, you know, and that's the other thing is I don't know. Like, do you have children?
Yeah, I have two. Yeah.
You have two. Okay, so you know, I don't know what somebody who doesn't have a child would think of this. You know, so it's also a risk. It's not like, and that also tells you what kind of artist I am, or what kind of label I'm on. like for Mellow Music Group to like be like, yeah, you can make a video about this and push it as one of your singles, you know, and that's why I feel like I'm so lucky to be in the position I am,
right?
You know, with Mellow Music Group, because it's not a hit. There's no chance of it being a hit.
Right.
You know, it's like it's something that it's extremely. It's certainly got the chance to be like a cult song. You know, people can really. I think if it hits, like someone on my Facebook page wrote, he was listening to it in the delivery room, and that was really cool. Like that was like, whoa. So that stuff means more than anything, right? But
I think it also goes to the whole idea that, you know, you're not a 14-year-old kid anymore, right? Like you're not writing raps. You're an adult, and there is a genre of adults. There's a lot of adults that grew up listening to hip hop, and now they need that adult kind of hip hop music, right?
Yeah, I think so. I do. You know,
yeah.
I can't relate to 90% of what's going on. I can't relate to. That doesn't mean I don't think it's good,
right?
But I can't relate to it. So it's more like I don't know about you, but like I can listen to some of this new stuff once, but that's it. I'll listen to it to see what it is,
right?
And to hear the creativity involved in the form and the choices and the sounds and hear where they're coming from and where they live and why it made their music what it is. But it's not relatable in a sense of being a grown person.
Right.
Choosing something to spend their day listening to. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. It's like you're totally listening for the creativity and the wordplay and whatever, but you're not like, oh yeah,
right.
This is my jam. You're not listening to it in the delivery room, so to say. You know?
No. Right. Absolutely not. Exactly.
How old is your son?
He'll be 4 in November. He was actually born 11/11/11.
Oh wow.
Which is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So. He's 4 years old. He's 4 years old now. So has your writing changed at all since he's been born?
My writing hasn't changed because of him being born, but I have changed so much because of him being around that it's changed my writing. So, you know, just in a roundabout answer to that question, it's not like I didn't have this like, oh, now I have to be different or act different or write different kind of thing. I feel no obligation to change who I am based on, you know, having a child. That's not me. But it's changed everything. I mean, it made my you know, I have 2 careers in my mind. You know what I mean? And it made my other life me step on the gas in my other life, and it made me also care more about writing is a good answer. It's made me care more. It made me everything I do now is more careful and more planned, and I think I do it better because of I am a better, stronger person now. You know, I have someone needs me now forever.
Right.
So I have to be that. I'm that human now. You know how it is.
Yeah, yes. We're speaking with Verbo Kent, new album, Anesthesia. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but first I want to, after the song Notes, I'm always interested in a track placement. And after the song Notes, there's a mid-album interlude. Was there a reason you put kind of an instrumental breather after this track?
You want to actually talk about the album order? This is great, man. You are my favorite interviewer of all time, Tim.
Oh,
yeah, like because you know, again, that goes back to adult rap. I mean, think about how much value there was back when we listened to albums, and in the album and the choices you made based on the track list and the overall experience that you're giving to someone. I mean, that's a huge thing. And nowadays, people don't really think about that as much, I don't think. And I don't even know that. I don't pay enough attention to know that I know people still make albums and they're sort of cinematic and stuff, but it is a big deal. And the experience that I would love, like if I had to pick how someone was listening to me, I would say listen to the album in a row 3 times, and then say what you think and ask the questions. So it is really important. So yeah. So after Notes, I thought it was time to let people just hear a beat for a second and just take a breather.
Right. Yeah.
And sort of relax for a minute, and have it be an experience and not keep forcing thoughts into people's minds for a second, I guess, Right.
No, definitely. Yeah, I was wondering because I felt like it was such a heavy track, heavy in a good way, that you were just like, like I totally thought, I was like, oh, this is interesting that this is,
it was certainly purposeful. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
On Facebook, you wrote talking about the track Add Anesthesia, which is produced by Kaz1, that this track is, quote, another side of Verbal Kent, a more introspective side without being self-serving. I hate when rappers bitch and moan. What have, and then you ask, anyway, I look forward to hearing your reactions. What have the reactions been so far to this track? And are any of them surprising to you?
Well, it just came out yesterday afternoon, so I haven't had that much feedback yet. I guess it's from a couple perspectives, it's just different than just like Notes is in its own way. This song is just different. I mean, I think I sound, it's a grown-up sound of me. It's a different sound, and it's again, just like a different side of my mind that I usually don't put into the songs. So for me, it's like anybody that's been listening to me for a while, but it's not like I've changed or done anything on purpose to make anyone think differently about me either, so it's organic. Mm-hmm. So I guess I was hoping, a lot of the process of me growing into an artist and changing, and that ever-changing experience is getting actual like feedback from people that have been around, that have known my music, and that can say to themselves, "This is different," and that I don't think like a old-time Verbal Kent fan will hear it and be like, "Oh man, this guy sounds different now." I don't think it's like that, but it certainly is it's just a different side of me, and I need to hear, like, even if it's old rapping friends, anybody, I need to hear them and hear what they think about it, so that I can then learn about myself through that.
On Anesthesia, you spit, quote, "Pour liquor from the flask, look at my reflection in the glass, catching a reflection of my past." On this track, what are you trying to let us know about your past, and what have you learned from it?
Well, that's a good question. So I think in without getting too specific, just like anybody, I've gone through, these phases of life where a lot of the, I guess I get a little specific, a lot of the early part of like me writing and being an MC and being a rapper was spent sitting in these different, coffee shops, like coffee houses or whatever, and like smoking cigarettes, writing, going out to the parking lot, getting high, coming back in, playing chess, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes, writing raps. All of a sudden, it's 9 o'clock at night, and that was like the day in the life of what I would, that defines so much of time I spent in, after high school, in when I but when I could have been in college, when I could have been, pursuing a career or whatever, and not that that's super unique of a thing to be doing, but that was like a really long part of my young life was just that over and over again. And I didn't really focus on, I think during that period, I didn't really think about myself out of context of that. I didn't have like a bigger purpose or see the bigger picture, or I didn't really explore much about myself. Because I don't think I really understood myself or what was going on around me that much. It was just about, I just needed to write. I needed to release. Mm-hmm. I needed this, there was this endless cycle of like writing, smoking. It was just like this nonstop, just almost like I was distracting myself from who I really was at the time. And I don't really think I was that impressive at the time. I mean, I don't know how many 21-year-olds, 19-year-olds are impressive, really, to be honest. But no disrespect to any 19 and 20-year-olds listening. But, I wasn't, I think I was pretty common in terms of where I was. I may have had, I think I've always been creative. I've always been real creative. And I'm not talking junk about myself either. I'm just saying, I think a lot of it was just self-medicating. And so in that song, the first verse is basically setting the table of who I was and what I was doing, and which was basically just constantly doing something to cover up or to try to stop myself from really facing myself, right? And I think that's a big part of life. Even when you figure things out, even when you're on the path to self-knowledge of self, and when you understand yourself, even as an adult, even now, there is constant anesthesia happening. There's constant our subconscious is like constantly making us behave in a way in order to give us a break from having to really be who we are. Because it's hard. It's really hard to be who we really are. And if we really broke everything down and decided to stop playing games and stop covering up and stop comforting ourselves all the time, it would be really difficult to live in our society. And I don't say that as, and it's, you know, I think that's just the truth. You know, if we really want to face injustice, and if we really want to look at, you know, where we are as in the human race right now, it's hard. And so I think we constantly, we without even thinking about it, even the best of us, we embrace anything in order to not to sort of have to get to relax and not have to truly deal with pain and suffering all the time, right?
Right.
Anyway, there's so many levels of that, and I'm not trying to be a downer about anything, because I think being alive is great, and we're all so lucky, and especially people who are living in situations that we're living in. I mean, it's insane how lucky we all are. But in this country and whatnot, as awful as it is, we are lucky as ever. But anyway, not to go on tangents. So the first verse is sort of embraces that, and then as I get into the second verse of Anesthesia, I start referencing other ways that I've experienced, you know, that I sort of am acknowledging that what am I hiding and what am I covering up? You know, I think, you know, break up, you know, make up to break up, you know, break up to make up, maybe to make up, I break up to break up. You know, I'm sort of, you know, what am I doing? How, you know, is there an autopilot? Are we in autopilot most of the time? And and that beat that Kaz One made, sort of that kind of repetitive, you know, kind of spaced out, airy beat that he made in the background with kind of drumless backdrop, I hoped would help tell the story of that sort of state of mind. You know, so again, so it's interesting to see. I don't know what the hell people are going to think of that, or me of Verbal Tennis writing a song like that. I don't know.
But it seems like if you use, let's say you use rap music, right, or writing rap lyrics to quote unquote self-medicate, then that is not necessarily a bad thing, right?
No, it's not. I mean, there's positive addictions, there's negative addictions, it's all sorts. It's not bad or good either. It's just being aware of the habits that we all have in how we deal with change and how we deal with pain, right? And how we deal with happiness and our patterns of ourself, and uncovering that and what that reveals is more of what I'm going for. It's certainly not, and that's why, like, I'm not critiquing the human condition in that sense. I guess I'm just trying to point it out, and probably trying to point it out for my own well-being. Just like we said earlier, it all goes back to myself, really, right? Why am I writing this? Why am I even talking about this?
It reminds me of a lyric, or a line you had in the last track of the album, Are You Ready?, which is also produced by Kaz One, and you say, quote, "Thank God we took our anger and put it into words."
Yep.
Is that more of a reference to kind of the self-medication part of it, or are you more referencing like this is the origin?
That's real specific. So that song, Are You Ready? That's my favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
That actually might be my favorite song I've ever written, to be honest. And I don't expect that to be everybody else's favorite song. But I was talking to Kaz One on the phone, and we were talking about our generation of Chicago hip hop and what happened to all the artists that at the time were sort of blindly fighting for this like kind of imaginary number one spot in Chicago, which is stupid. Mm-hmm. And I regret we were waxing about it, and we were, you know, there's so much regret. You know, why couldn't anybody get along? And not expecting you or most people to know about this sort of small window in Chicago hip hop history, but you know, it was like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, late 2000s, and like there was like 6 different labels in Chicago, and a lot of talent, and just no camaraderie and no real building, and it led to sort of this, what me and Kaz were talking about, where like there's like 6 artists from our generation that did anything with themselves, and I'm one of them, and what have I done? You know what I mean? I've been a contributor to hip hop, but I haven't made any major waves, and it's just like, wow, like we spent so much time fighting for this position that didn't exist, and we were kind of embarrassed about it on the phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what, I'm going to write a song about this. And, you know, and then it sort of started making me think about my crew back in the day, which was Kaz One and Rusty Chains and Altruism and Lance Ambu and my guys. And that whole second verse of the song, Are You Ready, is this sort of acknowledgement of, look, we're all grown up, and I was sort of the leader of this group, and we're all just kind of making our way through life, and we all have kids, and we never really did what we thought we would do with rap, but we're still here, and you know, and I love you guys, and you know, thank God. And that line, like, thank God we took our anger and put it in words. It's a powerful line for me to be able to even have thought of saying it. That we, you know, because we were angry, we were, you know, we were just these kids drinking, smoking, hanging out, growing up in the city, you know, trying to be rappers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't sugarcoat that. We're all good people, but man, you know, we didn't gangbang. We didn't, you know, luckily we were poets. We were writers. And that's what we used our, you know, all of the rage of, you know, just being young and confused. We put it into words. And, you know, so that song, Are You Ready, on the album is probably the most important song that I've written to date.
And another thing I appreciate about the Are You Ready, it to me, it seems like it's totally two different tracks. Just the way the beat's broken up. I mean, it took me a while to, like, I was listening to it and I had to, like, double check my phone to make sure that.
Oh, are you talking about the second track?
Yeah.
Basically?
I mean, yeah.
It's actually it is. It's a separate track. It's kind of just like a bonus, a hidden track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a hidden track that just kind of if you wait on the album, like, what is it, like 10 seconds after Are You Ready, you get this other kind of banger produced by Kaz One. It's sort of this ranting, and it's just like one long verse, and it's more of the old Verbal Kent, I think. And to be honest, I wanted it to be on the album, and I didn't know where to put it, and we were just like, let's just have it be this sort of surprise for people to hear at the end. So it wasn't the same track. Oh,
because I think on the SoundCloud stream I got, it's all on that one. It's all on the last track.
And on the album it is too. You'll find it
exactly.
Okay. The listeners will hear the same thing. Exactly. Yep.
Oh, cool. Verb, I just want to. You've obviously you've been writing for quite a while, and I imagine you have moments of writer's block. And your bio talks about how you, by the age of 14, you kind of amassed this collection of hip-hop albums by, like, artists such as EPMD, Cypress Hill, A Tribe Called Quest, The Pharcyde, you know, Woo, all these guys. Are there moments, I guess, when you're dealing with writer's block, are there moments where, like, is there an album that you go to that you kind of just, like, helps you clear your head and get you writing again? And if not, how do you deal with writer's block?
I don't necessarily use music for inspiration in that sense anymore. Writers, for me, if I go, like, you know, if I go a week without writing, which is rare, I kind of have I kind of just have to write whatever the hell I think. And when I do, like, I've gotten pretty good at writing rap songs. Like, it doesn't take much for me to be able to get into that mode. For me, a writer's block is basically like, I write down some lines. I don't write complete songs, but I write lines down. Mm-hmm. And then I write thoughts or ideas of what I want to write about. And then when I have enough of them, I can write the song. That's kind of my process now at this point. Either I'm like hyper inspired and I'm just like, I'm going to write a song right now. And I do. Or I know what I want to write about and I'm brainstorming, and I just have this brainstorming session where I write down ideas, lines, words, and styles that I want to put into it that I'll jot down and then go back to it and then apply it. That's kind of my process now. I don't really have massive writers. I've never had a massive writer's block.
Oh, nice.
Luckily.
Oh, nice. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned you have your favorite song on the album, and Are You Ready? But is there a track on the album that kind of best defines the overall mission of Anesthesia?
Another song that I don't know if when you heard the album, how many times you listened or how deep you got into it, but there's a song called Is This My Life? It's a Marco Polo produced track. I don't know, you know, it's kind of, without me explaining it, it would be impossible for anybody to, not impossible, but it'd be tough. So that song takes place in So I survived a murder about me that he tried to kill me years back. And this song called Is This My Life is written from the perspective of me. It's the first time that I've left the house by myself after my sort of recovery from this experience.
Oh, wow.
And the whole song takes place within the first 30 seconds of me being outside, sort of alone, after this all took place. And it's the first time as a writer I was able to take basically a little tiny period, like I said, 30 seconds of an experience, and I wrote a whole song about that in 30 seconds. I didn't explain that to anybody. And now if you go back and listen to it, it's a really interesting song because basically it's me leaving my apartment alone and my perception of everything around me and how different it was after surviving this near-death experience. And it's a powerful song, and I think what encapsulates what I'm trying to say more than actual literal attempts at changing something and overcoming something, right? So that I think that song is the most literal example of, in that case, anesthesia. My anesthesia for what happened to me was literally just going outside and just trying to eat myself again. So that it's a pretty powerful song, and it's funny Mike from the label from Mellow Music Group was like, we should release that as a single. And I was like, you know what it's about? And he was like, I guess not. I was like, yeah, I don't want to get publicize that and make that a big deal. And because then we'd have to explain what it actually was about. But I will explain it in interviews, and if people ever ask me, I'll certainly talk about it. But anyway, yeah.
Was it a hard song to write? Not to jot down.
No.
But was it a emotionally a hard song? Or
no, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was more of an exercise in writing because that first I remember it so clearly, and so it was kind of fun to write it. To be honest, it was like I'm gonna try to how much can I write about one moment, kind of a thing, right?
Right.
And so it was more of a challenge in that sense than it was emotionally. It was more of a challenge as a writer. So I embraced it, I think.
He's Verbal Ken. His new album coming out September 11th under Mellow Music Group is Anesthesia. Verbal Ken, thank you so much for joining me on The Library with Tim Einenkel.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Check it out, yeah, listen, hey yo, my raps are like the facts of life. We are less alike, your raps are just like the cast of facts of life. Let me cast the light, shed it even. I don't give a fuck about getting even. Cause if I did, I'd be at the crib an imposter, a monster underneath the bed you sleeping. Drink till I'm real wobbly. Grab a pen, can't stop me. I'll fuck around, rewrite Kill Bill. Have it with her, Kill Bill Cosby. Have a putty pop in his make a pop pills. Wake up, Nick. Sub pants tied with his mouth all gag, face down in the ground in the sandcastle. I'm a motherfucking master, ass a body, no asterisk, a body bags a body. So acrobatic, I bet you acrobatic, expect the gadget. Go roll, Jack's body. Never been a better metaphor for a slinger. Show me a beat, I ain't a 4-4 kinger. And a 4 over 4 course dinner. I'ma put 4 little holes in a faux dinner. You keep clothes in a suitcase. I keep dough in a suitcase. 2 identicals to a suitcase switch. Pay me get Adrian Peterson switch. Maybe get rich, eat at Gibson's on a Tuesday lunch. Got a hunch Tuesday, you'll be at the Liquor Boy Town Center every Tuesday brunch. Yeah. Suitcase switch.
Now I lay me down to sleep. Bad right next to me.
Myrtle Beach is the beach. 60 miles of bright sand, water, and a wealth of wonderful music playing day and night. You can step into a simple beach bar and discover a surprising level of exciting musical talent. A place to kick back and groove to the enticing soundtrack of the most unexpected vacations around. With nothing but good vibes floating through the warm ocean air. Plan your own music-filled trip to America's Jukebox at visitmyrtlebeach.com.
Rack your look for spring at Nordstrom Rack and save up to 60% on brands you love. Rag & Bone, Vince, Marc Jacobs, Adidas, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices every day at Nordstrom Rack. Score new dresses, denim, sandals, designer bags, and sunglasses, plus updates for the family and home. Get your spring on for less, up to 60% less, today at your Nordstrom Rack store. What will you find?